Hi everyone, this is Dr. V's magical putter case study, and this is quite a complex issue, so let's talk about it. First of all, was it ethically justifiable to publish the article despite it being legal? Here's where we need to access that 5W1H justification model and start by asking ourselves, what's your problem? After answering some of these questions that I came up with, I determined that this was a much more ethical than legal situation as far as where its concerns lie. So I would consider this a legal, unethical situation as a whole. As a journalist, your goal is to serve the public. So if the information about Dr. V was necessary to the public, and if withholding it would cause harm, or in this case, if the public was being misinformed about the product and the individual behind it, then what did they have a right to know? The focus of this article was originally on the putter and not the inventor. So was all this information really necessary to accomplish the story? Do the details about Dr. V's personal life and transition affect the putter or the validity of the product? After answering some of these questions, it seems that the motivation behind sharing some of this personal information could be considered unethical. It would cause attention and bring popularity to the article, but at the expense of Dr. V's safety and personal life. This privacy should have been respected, and only the necessary information should have been shared with the public, because the consequences of exposing her as trans were far more than any benefit. Moral issues that Hannon encountered during their research. Vanderbilt lying about her academic background and her work experience is a huge ethical issue, and as well as her taking cash from an investor and not paying it back. These two are actually ethical issues in their own merit, based on how she decided to handle these situations. These facts prove character and expose the lack of research and scientific facts backing the design of the putter, which now puts Hannon in a moral dilemma. The focus of the story changing due to this new information was a moral issue that Hannon then had to navigate. They originally agreed to make the focus of the story on the science and not the scientist, but this changed in the process, which is not what was agreed upon initially with Vanderbilt. What would I have done in this portion of the process? I would have initially brought this information to Vanderbilt's attention. I would have exposed what I found, discussed it with her, asked why she was hesitant and what her concerns were with bringing this forward. Tried to form a compromise and explained why certain pieces of information were necessary to be included in the story, what my reasoning behind it was. But I overall would have tried to be really transparent with her and respected that she was initially a source for information on the putter and not for their life story being told to the world. They should have kept in mind that from the beginning, the initial interview, Dr. V only agreed because she said her anonymity was her security as well as her livelihood. This was regarding overall a popular product that had gained a lot of buzz and attention in the golf world, and that is what the story should have focused on. The lack of credibility behind the science of the club was important to inform the public about, so they knew what they were really buying, but the rest could have been left out. What moral issues did Hannon encounter while writing the article? Being deceived by the source throughout the research process raised a huge moral issue for the article, but Hannon had to really look at if this deception had a malicious intent behind it or if Vanderbilt was coming from a place of protection. Also, it's important to notice that even the people from Vanderbilt's past that Hannon was reaching out to, even those that had poor opinions of her, didn't have much motivation to talk about her past. They weren't really pushing for Hannon to expose these things. Didn't seem like there was going to be a benefit to that. And this spoke volumes as to if this was actually necessary and to who would be truly benefiting from that information being shared. There's a sense of drama in this piece, highlighting her past, the investigations done, the suicide attempt, her past marriages, none of which is applicable to the actual putter or necessary for the public to know. Knowing she had passed away before publishing the article is another thing that would have made me consider if it was worth publishing this about someone who had now passed. How would you frame the article on Dr. V's putter? I would have focused the story on the putter first and foremost, because presenting The personal information was unnecessary. Trying to relate the fact that she was trans and a con artist simply does not go hand in hand. They have no relation to one another. Saying they didn't know that this could cause harm was bad reporting on their part and bad planning. Stakeholders should have been considered in an ethical decision such as this, and they should have informed themselves as journalists, researched, talked to others before making that decision if they really truly weren't informed on the consequences. But trying to tie all of this together to the golf club itself was just a stretch. So the product itself was actually even good, popular, and well-liked. Therefore, there really isn't much of a story behind the putter, and it's all being focused on the personal life of the creator. And we have to ask ourselves, is this what the public needed or was asking for even?